The smallest detail leaves the biggest impression. Just by having a pocket scarf in your pocket in a sport coat sends a message that I pay attention to detail. And your customer or the people that you approach, that you're dealing with, says to themselves, whether they're aware of it or not, I like this guy. He pays attention to detail, just like if your shoes are not polished. Grooming is very important. These are things that people see, but they may not be aware of why they're reacting to you.
Hi, I'm Nick Warner. As a dad, a lucky husband, and as a business coach, I value people and relationships above all else. But next is winning, sustainability, and healthy culture. I've been a business owner for 25 years and served for decades as a special advisor to business and government leaders at all levels. Let's just say I've seen some stuff. My passion and my expertise are helping motivated professionals and businesses find the highest level confluence of what they want in life and business. This is what it feels like to be together at the top. Thank you to our sponsors, Scholl's Brick & Rogaski, Three Bridges Consulting, Kathy Olson at Ships and Trips, and Connect Strategies. For the last 47 years, Tom Gangitano has owned and managed Jean Heller Menswear in swanky Sausalito, California, a small, vibrant, upscale seaside town that looks right into San Francisco from across the bay. As a loyal listener of Together at the Top, you know we've interviewed mayors, titans of industries such as technology and construction, a top Hollywood movie producer, and most recently the CEO of the largest investment fund in the world. But today we're going closer to the ground level to talk about the importance of brand through clothing in your professional life, how the clothes you wear impact your brand up and down, and how you should think about it and also act on it. As a thriving small business owner and savvy clothier over decades, Tom has lectured extensively on the topic of professional dress, including at Wharton School of Business. Let's get down in the weeds and into the threads, Tom. Welcome to the show and say hello to the people of Together at the Top.
Well, I want to first thank you, Nick, for having me. I'm honored. It's my passion, and you're helping me on my mission in life, and that is to spread the word that dressing is important, appearance is important.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So let me set this up. If you work with me as a business coach, you know I care a lot about brand, especially in leadership and emerging leaders. But there's another school of thought, Tom. For example, legendary Apple CEO Steve Jobs talked about, quote, decision fatigue. So he wore essentially the same thing every day, black turtleneck, blue jeans, and New Balance shoes to avoid having to use brain power and things that he thought didn't matter. In a 2015 article from the Sydney Herald, journalist Alexandra Kane takes it even further. She says in an article entitled Appearances Shouldn't Matter at Work, she says, work is work and what you wear doesn't matter. What matters is how you're contributing to the business's commercial outcome and nothing else. Does what you put on your body at work or even a Zoom call matter, Tom, and why?
Oh, you bet. You bet. Let me ask you a question. When you are in school and you're learning, you want to learn, you want to continue to learn. When you leave college, do you stop learning?
I hope not.
No, I hope not. When you get married, you're in love with your wife. After you get married, do you stop loving your wife? No. So when I get people in that tell me, gee, I don't have to dress anymore, I look at them and say, you know, dressing is a part of our emotional stimulant in life. You're making a void in your life by not dressing. When you put on something new or something that makes you feel good, you react differently. Not only that, but people react to you differently. If someone is trying to show their products or show their brand to someone else, and they are not put together properly, there's a subliminal message that you're sending that I don't pay attention to yet. Now, you're not Steve Jobs. I'm not Steve Jobs. I'm not Elon Musk. When you become Steve Jobs and Elon Musk, you can use that FU dressing. But until that time, you need to understand that your appearance says something before you even open your mouth.
I could not agree with that more. In fact, I wrote down in my notes, I didn't say it. I'm not Steve Jobs. I'm not that smart. So I'm going to use other mechanisms. And you said it a similar way.
Exactly. And that's what when I was lecturing at Wharton, that's what I wanted to get across to these young men who were going out into the world. And they had been dressing in T-shirts and sweatshirts and jeans while they were going to school. Now, all of a sudden, they're going out into the business world. And they're totally confused about what to dress, how to dress. They were going to places like Boston, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York. And each one of those cities requires a different curriculum for dressing. And that's where a professional like myself comes in. I set you up. I give you the confidence to know that when you walk in a room, the last thing you want to think about is, am I dressed appropriately? And that's the problem. It's actually the reverse of what Steve Jobs was saying. It messes your mind up more if you don't know how to dress and if you underdress. It's always a little bit better to be overdressed than underdressed.
Yeah. If you're on the video side, you can see how sharp Tom looks. What you can't see is we had a video test call on Sunday, and he was wearing a beautiful jacket and beautiful, crisp white collar and a really nice kerchief. And I was wearing a t-shirt, and that was not going to happen on this call. So I'm wearing a beautiful canali jacket that Tom actually sold me. I feel very comfortable. I feel confident. And I love what I'm wearing. And to your point, but there was no way you were to catch me twice wearing a t-shirt, not you. Tom, Savant magazine says there's 4 reasons why appearance matters in the workplace. 1, it's a mark of respect for the company's dress code. 2, appearance has an immediate impact on colleagues and superiors. 3, a reflection on motivation and professionalism. And 4, it primes you for leadership positions. Dress for the job you want, not the job you have. How do you recommend an emerging leader follow that advice, but also avoid pitfalls like, boy, that kid looks super fancy?
Exactly. Okay. So when you're the new kid on the block, you want to dress conservatively, but appropriately. Respectful dressing is very important. And in this day and age, you have to know how to dress respectfully for every situation. If someone invites you to a black tie party and you don't show up in a black tie, you're being very disrespectful. So if you start a job and they have certain dress requirements, you want to dress on the conservative side. Once you have the credibility, you could start showing a little bit more of your personality in dress, because now people are confident and comfortable with you. And now they pay attention a little bit more to the details that you're wearing, your appearance. And it's very, very important to understand that it's a transitional thing. It's not you walk in with a Brioni $6,000 suit your first day of work. You walk in dressed appropriately, but conservatively. And then little by little, you put those details together that show a little bit more of your style and your detail concentration.
Yeah, that's a great point. I have an analogy on that. I think I was 32. No, I probably wasn't that old. I was probably 27. I had my first car professionally. My career was starting to go pretty well. I mean, not stratospherically well, like it ended up going, but pretty well. And I wanted to upgrade from a 3 Series BMW I was leasing, and I was thinking about a 5 Series. And I called my boss and I said, I don't know, is it too showy? Am I saying too much by this car? And she said, I think your clients want to see you successful, but they don't want to see you too successful, especially at this age. So she said very much a version of what you said is, she didn't say conservative. And of course, we don't mean that politically. We mean it in a stylistic sense. But she said, hit that respectful middle. And then as you get older and more heft to you, then you can make different decisions. And I hear that also in your, in your thoughts about dressing professionally.
Yeah, well, credibility is very important in any work environment. And especially if you're a leader and you become a leader in that work environment. Now, I get many, many corporations that contact me and want their people to dress better. And they don't have the time to school them. So they require me to do it. And what they do is they bonus their employees gift certificates at my store for particular dress criteria that the job requires. So it's a win-win situation. They gift their employee and bonus them an outfit or two, and they get that appearance that they're trying to achieve for their company. It really works out great. I love doing it, and we have many corporations that do it with us at all levels.
You also just gave us a great context clue. So I'm an employer. Actually, you're an employer too. But when employers are utilizing that mechanism, which is we'd like you to get nicer clothes, it's hard when you walk in somebody's office and say, I'd really like you to level up. I really like you to have nicer clothes. You need to look better. It's way better when you come at it. And I'm going to use this, what you just said. Hey, for this new big job you have, this is what the job requires. It's actually not deficit. I mean, maybe deficit, but you have to give it to somebody in a way they can process it. And I think that's a great way to think about it. Like, for this job you have, this is what the company requires. There'll be other people you might approach it differently, but I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings mostly. And I don't necessarily want to say you look like crap or that's not good enough. So a leveling up type of conversation where because of this job, out of respect for you're working in a new higher level environment, that's a really good way to get at it. Not just the gift certificate part, but using that language to get somebody to understand it's kind of a compliment. You've ascended to this level.
Yeah, but again, Nick, you got to understand the knowledge of knowing how to do that is void with a lot of leaders, especially men. Women obviously have a better sense of dressing, and women are required and expected to dress better every day. A woman's dress in the workplace is a lot more critical than a men's dress.
Why?
And I'll tell you why. Because women are expected to dress. Casual Friday, women still come in with dress clothes. They're not going to come in with a polo shirt and a pair of khakis and a pair of sneakers. Okay. Now, some women take it down to a level where they'll come in with ripped jeans and a tank top, which isn't appropriate either. So the knowledge of knowing how to dress for each situation and each particular circumstance that you have is so important. So these leaders don't have time to teach their employees how to dress. So that's where a professional like myself comes in.
All right. So picture me. Actually, don't picture me because I'm pretty decent at this and I love it. But most people don't love it. They don't have the means. They haven't seen it. So picture, let's say, an emerging leader and they're up in the morning and they're in their closet. What would you have them thinking about for their day and what they're going to put on their body for that day?
Okay. We all go through this, whether we're conscious of it or whether it's a subliminal thought. When we get up in the morning, we think about what we're going to do and what the weather's like. And then we think about what we're going to wear. So if I'm going to the gym, okay, I'm going to wear these clothes. If I have a big day at work and I'm going to meet with somebody at a high level, then I'm going to wear maybe a sport coat and a nice shirt. If I'm going out to Napa Valley, I'm going to meet with a farmer, somebody who owns a vineyard, then I'm going to just put on a pair of khaki pants or casual pair of pants and a regular polo shirt. So these are criteria that you have to think about every time you get up in the morning. It's not just, I grab this and grab that, but there are keys to dressing that make it very easy. Colors, for example. Colors send a message. A white shirt like you have on today sends a message that's a little dressier, and it also means you're the leader in the room. If you want to wear a powder blue shirt, it's approachable. It's an approachable color. It's more accepted. And if you want to wear a pastel color like a lavender or pink, those are more festive colors. So there are keys to dressing that allow you to meet the criteria immediately, and you don't go through with Steve Jobs said, having a brain freeze. So in menswear, it's a lot easier than women's wear because in women's wear, you have a lot more silhouettes. But the same color keys hold true to women as they do to men.
Yeah, let's talk about women for a minute because I asked you in pre-production. I actually told you in pre-production. I think I'm going to see if I can find a female counterpart, or at least a women's clothier counterpart for this. And you said something really interesting to me. I actually got sidetracked and you said, quote, women have respect for themselves wherever they go. Women are my ally.
Oh, yeah. And the reason why is, and I blame a lot of women for men not dressing properly, because women will go out with a man and they'll show up beautifully dressed, and the man will have something on that he wore to the gym that day or playing golf. And women let him get away with it rather than saying, you know what, I need you to dress a little bit better. I'm dressing up. Let's dress up and have some fun, which you understand, Nick, because I know you do it.
Yeah, to be honest with you, it's always been part of my game. And maybe, you could argue I said factually that I'm not as smart as Steve Jobs. You could also say, or somebody might say, hey, dude, you're not that smart. So I think maybe I am decently smart, but to be honest with you, I wasn't smart at 24 when I started. I didn't really know what I was doing. Nobody does.
Yeah.
But I knew I didn't want this job for long. I saw what the professionals in this industry I wanted to be in were wearing. And I started to mimic that. I didn't wear, too fancy. I think I went more conservative, but where my original position called for like something like a golf shirt and business casual slacks, I always wore a suit. I didn't always wear a tie, but I always wore a suit.
Well, it's good because I'll give you a little example going back to being a young man. I had a young intern who was going to work in an attorney's office, and he was going to do, work for them, paperwork. He was going to be an intern and get into all aspects of it. And they told him, just come in a shirt and a pair of pants. So he comes into my store and he wants to get a couple of outfits for his internship. And I said, listen, I want you to take a jacket, a sport coat, and a tie with you and leave it at work. He says, no, Tom, I don't need that. They told us just wear. I said, listen to me, just do it. comes after the internship is over, calls me up. He says, Tom, you can't believe what happened. He says, we were doing research. I'm in there with two other interns. And all of a sudden, the lead attorney comes in the room and says, which one of you has a jacket and a tie? I want you to come into the deposition. So he gets privy to this deposition that the other two did. And he said it was a great learning experience.
Yeah, really good.
So that's an example of it.
Yeah, that's a great example.
You can always take your jacket off.
So fine men clothing is very expensive. I love, love, love nice clothes, and I love how it boosts my confidence. But I find it daunting to spend at the level required, $800 to $1,000 for a sports jacket, $1,500 suit for that's on the rack at Nordstrom or perhaps in your office, $300 slacks. Like, oh boy. Talk to our emerging leaders and up and comers about how to get started and how to stay on budget.
It depends on obviously what you need to wear, but the main thing is you buy less, but you buy quality because it'll last longer. Today, the presentation is more in the shirt than it is in the tie, because guys used to wear a tie to express themselves. Now the shirt is the focal point of an outfit. So you can wear a particular jacket and have different shirts that it'll work with. Now the jacket is always not required. So sweaters are very important right now. Zip cardigans are real popular. Buy a nice zip cardigan that you can put any color shirt underneath it. And every day you can have a different look with that, or more casual. And so you don't have to spend a lot of money. You just have to spend the right money. And necessarily price doesn't equate into quality. So you can pay, $1,000 for a sport coat. It still may not be appropriate or be good quality. You have to know what to look for. You have to know how to feel a garment and how it drapes and how it sits on you to know whether it's quality or not.
We appreciate your time. If you like what you've heard so far, do me a favor and leave a 5-star review and share with your friends. We'll be right back. The law firm of Scholes, Brick & Rogaski is a go-to partner for me. I work the most with partner Michael Rogaski. I go to them for business contracts, strategic legal counsel to maneuver through or around complex business situations, HR and employee issues, startup needs, intellectual property protections, collection matters, and recently the purchase or sale of a business. I really like the fact they tell me if they're not the best fit and they give me a warm referral if I need it. Also, unlike so many attorneys, are totally level-headed and calm. I've experienced it like their slogan says, small firm service, large firm result. Contact Michael Rogaski at sbrlawsd.com. Kathy Olson at Ships and Trips is as creative and as willing a travel partner as you can find. These days, you can plan a lot of trips on your own, but for those trips that require more intricate planning, tons of time, or local contacts and savvy, Kathy's the best. My family and friends have worked with her countless times in every travel country, setting, and season you can think of. Contact Kathy with a C at shipsandtripstravel.com. Yeah, you asked me a lot of questions when I came to the store too, which I really appreciate because I realized right away, this is a consultative exchange. This is not a transactional exchange. This is consultative. And that's what lands you on my show is I have met people with your talent level before, but your ability to talk about it and then your foray into academia and understanding why it matters. So let's talk about what you wear and how it conditions the environment. So for example, I work with leadership teams in public safety agencies. Their leaders tend to wear a uniform with gun on a hip to business meetings, about budgets with other cities or counties or with community-based organizations. I think, and I usually coach you, there's a time and a place where that is perfectly appropriate and a time when it will stiffen the environment. Another example is a Friday team building and strategic planning where we really want people to be comfortable, and we may well call for super casual Fridays. I think about as a coach, I want to be light and airy and not wear a dark suit and a dark tie. I want to be approachable and not scary. Share some thoughts about using professional dress up and down to impact the environment.
Yeah, so depending on the environment that you go to, like I did a lecture at Compass, real estate offices, and they have very different types of clients. They're showing, mansions in San Francisco and Pacific Heights and Sea Cliff, and they're also showing vineyards out in Napa Valley. So you're going to have different dress for each appointment that you might have. So you have to know how to dress. But you want to be respectful, and you want to be a little bit better dressed than too underdressed. So if you're doing the city, you want to have a sport coat with you. If you're doing Napa Valley, maybe you have a sweater with you rather than a sport coat. And your shoes can be more casual in the country, and your shoes can be a little bit dressier in the city. So these are criterias. I do a lot of weddings. I mean, I do a wedding a day. It's amazing. When COVID hit, weddings were put on the back burner. All of a sudden, we got 3 years of weddings coming up, and I've been doing weddings every day. I've been consulting people, weddings in the city, weddings in a castle in Paris, weddings in Napa Valley, weddings on the beach in Cabo, and all these type of weddings are different criteria. So before I even show anybody an outfit for a wedding, I want to know where the wedding is, what the colors of the wedding is. I want to see the bride's dress. I want to see the bridesmaids' colors and dresses. And then I know how to dress everybody. And it becomes a very easy thing to do. And many of my clients say, man, you made it so easy. I can't believe it. Whereas they go into other stores and you have a bunch of malcontents helping them and they don't care. They just want to sell them anything.
Yeah, which is fine. There's a time and a place for that. But I was really struck by the probative questions, the consultative questions you asked me, because it really helped me think about my environment. You asked me, for example, who are you going to be speaking to? What's your role? What's a room going to look like? Are you leading it or are you there? Really, really important questions for me because I want to impact the environment of that room through dress. And as a consultant, I was appreciative of the way you handled that. My wife, Katie, says I can be harsh when it comes to personal brand. But I got to tell you and the listeners, I notice things that contribute to shaping my opinions, but whether I mean to or not, I notice things like, are you on time? Are you prepared? Did you anticipate and prepare for tough questions in advance? Are you over-promising, etc.? But I also notice things like worn-out shoes, cracked and worn belts, sloppy, unshaved necklines and messy sideburns, elbows and knees worn out in your professional clothes. Is your collar sticking up because you don't have collar stays placed inside your collars, stains in your collars, shirt sleeves too long or too short for your jacket? And if your stuff is old and worn out, expect me to notice, man or woman. You might be dressed well for some day or for another day, but not for this particular day. I don't have to love your individual style as much as I need you to be sharp and appropriate. You use the word criteria, which I think is a great word. I notice these things in my CPA, my lawyer, my doctor, my financial advisor, my employees, my clients, and their employees in my business, to be honest with you. If you're sloppy and not sharp, I might experience it the same way as if you're late or unprepared, frankly. So all that said, what mistakes do you see and try to avoid in dress for professional settings? And am I being too nitpicky in this space?
No, because you're aware of those things, but many times those are a subliminal message that you're sending the other person, and they're not aware of exactly why they don't trust you or are not impressed by you. But these are things. The smallest detail leaves the biggest impression. Okay? Just by having a pocket scarf in your pocket in the sport coat sends a message that I pay attention to detail. And your customer or the people that you approach, that you're dealing with, says to themselves, whether they're aware of it or not, I like this guy. He pays attention to detail, just like if your shoes are not polished. These are things, grooming is very important. These are things that people see, but they may not be aware of why they're reacting to you. It could be because of that.
That's a really good point. And one of the things I started to talk about myself when I was younger, I've always used dress, but I would hear things like, you really didn't have to wear a suit for this. And I learned language around that to say, especially as 27, 28, 32, 35-year-old, I understand, but it's out of respect for the position. So normally be like, oh, it's really nice. I appreciate that. And even as I got older, it was, the client might be in some version of a golf shirt or something. Well, I'm not there as a principal. I'm there as staff or I'm there as an advisor. And so I really try to pay attention to that. And that's a really great point you make. You may never know. They may never know that it shaped their opinion. It might be subliminal, but I've always paid a lot of attention to that. And if I get criticized for not usually too fancy, because I try to be appropriate on the criteria side, but you didn't need to wear a suit to this. It happened last night. I went to a high level, it was supposed to be a happy hour, turned into a dinner. And it was with a woman business leader of rank, like big time rank. And I went and I was dressed different than she was, than others at the table were, but it was a respect thing for me. And I hope it came across. They never said anything about it, but I'm hoping they notice I dressed this way out of respect for you.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to associate yourself with the lowest common denominator. And many people say you didn't have to dress like that, not because they're not impressed with you, but because they feel inferior to themselves. They feel, gee, I should have dressed. He looks really damn good. I wish I looked that good. So it's more out of jealousy than it is out of you're doing the wrong thing. You're doing the right thing. It's just that they didn't think of it.
Yeah. And if you think this doesn't matter, that's fine. I mean, my guess is some of our listeners are rolling their eyes. I think that's fine. Understand Tom and I we're data points. I happen to agree. I've employed this or deployed this in my career from the very beginning. I pay a lot of attention to it. Maybe it masks insecurities or lack of talent or wits. I don't know, but I think it's really, really important. And if you don't, just understand there's a lot of people out there like me and Tom who do think this way, and roll your eyes out if you want. But there's a big portion of the adult professional population that will notice whether they mean to or not, that will hire or not,
Yeah.
that will promote or not. And I maybe can't put you in front of that room because for me, that's not sharp enough. I have come around to, I don't have to like your style and you don't have to like my style, but it has to be sharp. It can't be sloppy. And there's a number, I gave you some examples of what I see as sloppy. Again, I'm one person, but I'm also a decision maker, an employer, and a good partner. And I think it matters. If you're rolling your eyes, I got it. Just understand there's a way of thinking about this that Tom and I are laying out to you, like it or not, accept it or not.
Like we said, if you're Steve Jobs or Elon Musk, you can roll your eyes at us, but you're not at that level. You want to have every edge you can in business. And dressing is part of that edge. Knowledge is very important. And the more knowledge you have in every aspect of your approach and in your business, you're going to have the advantage.
I am pro every edge you can have. Let's transition to retail and sales. You've been running a successful small business for 47 years, if my math is correct.
Yeah.
1976.
Yeah.
You've made it through decades and through the recent retail nightmare of COVID. And you seem to compete credibly with larger retailers like Nordstrom, which is another place I shop. Knowing now what you didn't know then, Tom, what tip or tips would you give someone entering retail today to be able to sustain and thrive long-term as you have?
Well, the most important thing, and to be honest with you, I knew this when I was young. My education was in New York. When I got out of college, I was an assistant buyer for Gimbel's in New York, which is a big department store like Macy's. And I came out to California and met the proprietor of the shop that I'm at now, Menswear. And we became partners, 23 years old. We knew at that time, and I knew at that time, that every client that walked in the door and purchased something from us was gold, and that we were going to nurture that gold. Over the years, I've had so many opportunities to advertise in high-level magazines across the country, across the world. And I say to myself, no one knows who I am in those magazines. So my advertisement, my promotions are going to be towards the people who have been in the store before. I can't tell you how many referrals I get from people who have been in the store. So my direct advertising, my direct promotion, my direct contacts with clients who have been in the store, who have experienced us before, are the ones that have kept us going in recessionary times. I'm going to tell you a quick story about the pandemic. Pandemic hit, we closed down. We sent out an email to our clients saying, hey, we're still here. As soon as we get back up and running, we'll be going. But in the meantime, if you want to FaceTime us and take this opportunity to go through your closet, and we can tell you what's in style, what's not in style. And we did a lot of that. We got almost, I'm not going to give you the exact figure, but between $50,000 and $70,000 worth of gift certificates that our customers sent us during the shutdown and told us, you know what, when you come back up, we'll use that money, but we're going to keep you in business. And that made me cry, because right there, that showed all the years that I have worked with people and how this came about. So, throughout the years, I've been through a lot of recessions, and you adjust. Department stores, first of all, don't invest in their employees. I don't have an employee in my shop under 30 years. And the reason why they don't invest, because they don't want to pay them. Well, let me just say, that's your front line. Anybody who's on your front line in any business, whether it be the valet guy at a hotel, is the most important person in your business. That person, I'm very close to a guy who's the head bellhop at the Fairmont Hotel in San Francisco. This guy's been there for 45 years. Everybody knows him. Everybody knows him. And he sets the tone when people walk in that door, just like my people set the tone of the store when somebody walks in the door. We act as concierge. You want to know where to go eat? You want to know what vineyard to go to. You want to know what hotel to stay at. You have to diversify your knowledge within your business to other businesses so you can network. Networking is so important. If I can say, hey, go see Nick up in Sacramento, he'll take care of you up there. People love it. They feel special. And that's what people want. They want that special event, that experience in anything they do in life right now.
You mentioned networking, and the reason I think networking is so important is because of empathy. And empathy isn't to give you a hug. Empathy is to understand your situation. And so networking plus your use of probative question asking, I think really helps you understand your client.
Oh, sure.
And then you take it past transactional and you invest in them, but it's not, at least this is my observation, it's not for touchy-feely. It's not for necessarily, I mean, of course, at some point it's come back and buy from us. But my sense of you, Tom, is you really want to understand. And I think you've found a spot for yourself. And it's not just you. I mean, it's a way of thinking about business. It's relational versus transactional. And the more you understand about your client, the better advisor you're able to be in partner. And I find that a big difference in you. And maybe there's people like you, I'm not sure, but I doubt that's by accident. Talk about how you're using networking to fuel your business and your empathy, if you will.
Okay, great. I'll tell you a simple thing. When someone walks in our shop, we never ask them if we can help them. We ask them if they've been in before. And we talk to them about where they're from. We talk to them maybe about what they do. We talk to them about their vacations, where they like to travel. All that gives us knowledge to know whether I'm going to sell you heavyweight clothes, lightweight clothes, professional clothes, casual clothes, cruise clothes, hiking clothes. All the questions in social conversation allow us to help you better without asking specific questions like, what do you want? And you get to know the customer better, and you also break down the barrier. Now, a sense of common ground between your client and you is very important. So if they're from Florida and my parents live in Florida, we're going to talk about that. We're going to have a common ground. If they vacation in Sicily and my family's from Sicily and I've been to Sicily, we're going to talk about that. I'm from New York. If they're from New York, we're going to talk about New York. So these things are very important because once you build that common ground and that sense of agreement where you agree with things, then that wall is broken down and they're receptive to what you have to say.
And this isn't a retail conversation or a clothing conversation. This is a pure business conversation because
any company.
For example, I'm going to look at my project board, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 organizations. I would take what you just said to every single organization I work with, and none of them are in the same industries.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you take that outside the store and you're networking with different people, different industries, different partners, and really understanding through use of probative question asking. I think all of that opens up the world of possibilities because you can just see the playing field better.
Oh, sure.
A phrase I use is know a lot of people, and people misunderstand that. Like, that'll help you get the meeting. Yes, it'll help you get the meeting. Yes, it's fun. You can get tickets or, you get a restaurant recommendation. That's not why in business sense, you meet a lot. You need to know a lot of people. It's for the reason you're suggesting so you can understand.
Yes, it's very important. So a client comes into my store for the first time, and whether they're local or not, we talk about the local area. We talk about restaurants. We talk about things to do. And then we start to connect people that we know or people that you should know. And that allows our relationship to grow. And all of a sudden, we have this relationship where I'm consulting in them and they're consulting in me. I can go anywhere in the world, Nick, and call up a client of mine and say, hey, I'm visiting. What should I do? And they'll tell me, or they'll invite me. And those relationships you build up through your professional life that are so important and become so worthwhile. I make hotel reservations. Nick wants to come down from Sacramento and stay in a nice hotel. I ask him about some criteria. I'll recommend him to the manager or the owner of that particular hotel. So he feels special. He gets a VIP on. If I make a reservation for you at a particular restaurant that I'm familiar with and I know the people there, you get a VIP on your reservation. These are things that we do out of the goodness of our heart, out of the empathy that you talk about, because we want to enrich our customer relationship. And because of that, we become very, very successful.
We appreciate your time. If you like what you've heard so far, do me a favor and leave a 5-star review and share with your friends. We'll be right back. Three Bridges Consulting did the video on the recently rebranded NickWarnerConsulting.com. I really love the video because it helps me sell by speaking directly to my prospective clients. Dennis and Sean at Three Bridges Consulting are high-level storytellers for the purpose of helping my prospective coaching clients understand what differentiates me from the pack. A recent new coaching client literally said to me, "You don't need to sell me, Nick. Your video sold me. I understand what you do and how you work with me as a client." That is a true story. You know I love that. Contact 3BC at threebridgesconsulting.co. Ken and his team at Connect Strategies head up my post-rebrand digital marketing campaign. I'm moving up the rankings for business coaches and consultants quickly. Connect is 20 years in the business, and I feel like they're really focused on my account. I refer business coaching clients to Connect too, and I get really good reports on result, professionalism, and drive. Thank you, Connect. Contact Ken at KNECHT What I talk about in business, and I think I learned this by employers telling me, I'd say, "Hey, why you just signed us to a new 2-year agreement and it's a really tough economy. Do you mind if I ask, what did we do to earn that? Because I want to do that with other clients." And I go, "Simply put, you added value. You helped us find other consultants like you in another state. You let us use your office for sales training. It's a beautiful office that we fly people into Sacramento. It was super nice. You drove me to the airport the other day. I'll draft that up for you." All these things that just keep us employed. Because remember, my predicate question for the question that got us into this posture is, you've been in business for 47 years. I would be foolish. We'd all be foolish not to ask you how. And I'm telling you, this part isn't a question. The things you just briefed us on, they translate. It's a little bit of, forgive my language, I really don't swear on this show, but it's a little bit of giving a shit. That's what it starts with is, and it's relational and consultative. Now, talk to me about the person that doesn't want that. Because a fair number of times when I'm in any store, any purchasing, it might be an HVAC system, it could be electronics, it could be obviously clothes. I just want a transaction. I just want to do that. Are you also, and that's true in my coaching business. Like, for example, people want me to review a presentation, or they want me to help them with pitch training. They're going to make a pitch and they want me to school them up, or they want me to look at a proposal beforehand. It can be transactional, and I prefer relational. Do you tease that out and back away from it when somebody really just wants to come in, for example, just buy something and be gone? Are you offended by that, or you allow that to happen?
When a person comes in and they say, "I really just want to look around," and the first thing out of my mouth is, "Be my guest. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate."
So that'd be similar in my business. Do we just want to hire you for one thing? And my inclination is like, "Tell me more about your story. Tell me where," and they're like, no, that's not what we want.
But let me just tell you how people are very defensive when they walk into any business or they're going to start business with somebody. Their guard is up. So you have to break that wall down. Like I said, you have to get that common ground. I've had many a customer come in for a pair of socks and walk out with $20,000 worth of clothes, and they laugh about it. Well, because that sock leads to a conversation. And when someone like myself is just interested in you, not in selling you, they become more cooperative.
How has that evolved over time? Because now you have benefit of 47 years. I have benefit now of a lot of clients in my coaching practice. So I have like leverage, if you will, not leverage to hurt people, but leverage to like slow it down, make sure it's a good client, make sure we're a good fit. When you were starting out, how is that different when you really need to pay the bills and you really need to get things sold?
Well, I'll tell you how it started out. Many a times I would open the store at night for customers, private customers. I would stay late at work and make sure I would leave the door open after closing hours so people would walk in and I can develop a relationship with them. A lot of my great customers were developed that way. I started offering my services to go to people's houses locally and redo their closets and advise them on their wardrobes. I offered to do tailoring for people on their own garments. I did a lot of things that were out of the box.
To add value.
Add value. That's what you got to do. You have to figure out what your profession is and what the normal realm of your job is, and then take it out of that a step further to add value to it.
Yeah, I like that.
And usually when you're a young person in a profession, you have time. Time is your ally. Time is your strength. So you have time to not only put into your job, but you have time to develop. And you have time to devote to your clients. That maybe someone who's more seasoned with a family who has all these things going on, they have to work 9 to 5. You can work 7 to 7 or, I'll tell you a quick story. Thanksgiving Day, many years ago, I get a call on the phone, and the phone rings, and I answer the phone, and I hear this voice, and it says, "Hey, Tom, this is Tony." Now, my brother's name is Tony. My best friend's name is Tony. All my cousins' names is Tony. I'm Italian. Well, after I said, "Hi, hey, Tony," and after I heard him talk a little bit, I realized who it was. It was Tony Bennett. And Tony Bennett calls me up on Thanksgiving.
Like Tony Bennett, I left my heart in San Francisco, Tony Bennett?
Yeah, yeah. So he calls me up. He's a customer of mine. He calls me up. He says, "Hey, Tom, I know it's Thanksgiving, but I'm only in town for the day, and I really want to get some clothes. Do you have time to open up maybe sometime today?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm doing a small thing for Thanksgiving. I'll be down there around, 6 o'clock, and we'll have some fun." Go down to the store, open it up for Tony Bennett. We have fun. He buys a bunch of clothes. The Super Bowl's in January. This was Thanksgiving, November. Super Bowl's in January. They do a shot of him at the Super Bowl, and he's wearing one of the whole outfits that I sold him, which is really nice. But those are the type of things that take you out of that box.
Yeah. From consultant and partner to just a guy who sold me some clothes. That happened with the two of us, actually. I had a big presentation, and I wore one of the suits that you sold me, and it changed my game. I felt really confident. The first guy I reached out to when I was done was, "Hey, Tom, I killed in that suit today. I felt like I was on my best game."
Well, I don't know if you remember, but I extended the store to you. We were closed, and you were in after hours.
I was some version of the guy who went in for socks, and I did not spend $20,000, but I spent some amount of money. I'm still paying off with my wife, but I think how good I feel in these clothes and the consultation, and now it's turned into an opportunity to learn from you. As we get to the clothes and we get to one of my favorite parts, actually my favorite part is you saying yes to this interview and getting to learn from you, but for summarizing some of my takeaways for the listeners. But I want to ask you, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, especially with the long run you've had. Tell me about the role of family and the ups and downs of your challenging business, the role of your family.
First of all, I have the best wife in the world. We've been married 43 years, and we're going in our 45th year of our relationship. And she has been very supportive of me. She has allowed me to spend the time in my profession and to participate in everything that I've done to enhance my profession. That's the key. You have to have a partner who's going to support you as I support her in her profession. It's very important. But I also made time for my son as he was growing up, and made time to be there at every game, and made time to be there at every school function. Those are very important. You have to have balance in your life. That's why I say when you're young and single and you can put the time and energy into developing your reputation, it's so important. That's a valuable time of your life. That's the most valuable. So rather than screwing off, hanging out at the beach and hanging out at bars, if you got time, invest it.
Yeah.
Be a student of your profession. Be a student of your profession. I have more enthusiasm and more knowledge now than I did when I was starting because of my experience, but I'm still learning every day about my profession. My family has supported me constantly, and that's been a big, big plus. And it's allowed me to do things that, I wouldn't have been able to do. My son, when he graduated high school, all the parents came to me and said, "Oh, we want our son to get for graduation, get all dressed up. Where do we go?" I said, "You come to my store." They said, "Oh, no, we don't want to spend that much money." I said, "Listen, I have moderately priced things that I can give you from people I know, manufacturers I know, good quality, and you're going to get my expert consulting and tailoring." But I said, "You know what? Don't come in with that. I want to empower these 17-year-old boys into learning about dressing. If you're there and you're dictating what they're going to wear, they're going to resent it. You just drop them off and you have them come see me." And I did about maybe 15 boys that way. And to this day, they're my customers.
Yeah.
Their college, their jobs, their weddings, every occasion that they've gone to.
And you take a lot of, I happen to be looking at your face, and some people watch this on video and some will listen to it. I'm looking at your face like right now, and you are beaming with like personal
Emotional
pride and interest. And it's really fun to hear past the curtain, past the register. And that's one of the things that struck me about you is like the level of caring, the level of consultation, the probative questions. Like, oh, this guy's different. I want to learn from this guy. And it's really neat to see your inflection when you talk about that.
Yeah, you got to have balance. I want to get back to that family support. Very important. Very, very important. So, like I said, my wife is the key to all this. Without her, I couldn't have the profession I have.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I'm glad I asked. Really glad I asked. Let me summarize quickly because you covered it so well. but there's not a lot for me to summarize. And I didn't want to pile on your words because you said things really well. Some of these will be your words and some will be mine. But I really liked the beginning of the conversation when we were talking about emerging leaders and younger people. And you talked about starting respectful and conservative. You used a term FU dress, which I think is great. I mean, you can dress that way if you want, but unless you're going to invent something amazing, it's a little, I process it also as FU. So it's a little bit interesting to hear you say that, but there's a progression in these things. And in your view, in your consultative view, that it doesn't have to start where it's going to end. I don't recommend dressing necessarily the way I'm dressing as a leader or you're dressing as the leader owner when you're 23, 24. So knowing it's okay to start respectful, be conservative. And then you said, once you have credibility, you can up your game. So I really like that. I like this notion of bonusing employees, especially so they can level up. And we had a really interesting conversation because a lot of people listening are employers and they're probably thinking about some of their employees. And I think you gave us some great language to get in those conversations without really hurting somebody's feelings. Because a lot of times these will be great people that really are trying to do well. And so I need language to not crush them. And a lot is, hey, congratulations, you just earned your way into a next level conversation. Because in this job, we've got to dress a different way. And I'm really excited to start that process with you, for example, and the company's going to seed that. So like for me, that's a great way to get into the conversation. I hope others can use that in learning from you. I like the word criteria that you used. That helps me a lot, especially if I have multiple stop points in a day. I had that yesterday. I had I had Zoom meetings, then I was on site in a board meeting, and then I mentioned I had a dinner/happy hour. So I did a version of what your young professional did when you said to the intern, take the jacket and put the tie in the back of your door. You're probably going to need it. I did a version of that because one thing wasn't appropriate enough for me.
Right.
So I staged it, but I was thinking about as I was in my closet criteria. I've never thought of that word before, but what's your criteria for the stops in your day and what are you trying to do? You turn that into, I've never heard this before. I'm probably not going to forget it. White being more of a leader type color. You mentioned I'm wearing a crisp white shirt today. Blue being accepted and acceptable. It'll kind of blend in and nice, and pink, more festive. That's interesting. I was thinking about, I have a really nice pink shirt and I've worn it a couple times and it's going to make me rethink where I wear it, where I wear blue and where I wear white. So I find that really instructive. And frankly, we talked about mistakes, Tom. I mentioned some things that catch my attention, that catch yours. You mentioned shoes not being shined. I mentioned cracked belt and, you know, the collar stay that's coming up above your jacket. I can't stand that. I've made some really not, you know, other people wouldn't say they're horrible mistakes, but they're cringe-worthy for me, where I'm going to a Western barbecue and I'm a city boy and it's in the Central Valley of California and I'm wearing a suit and tie. And you know that Bullseye commercial, New York City, get a rope, right? That's me. I dressed wrong. I guessed wrong. I missed the criteria.
Right.
Very poignant story for me that I hope young leaders will listen to. And you told it through your vantage point in terms of the kid who needed to have the sports jacket and the tie in the back of the door. We changed in one of the offices that I ran, we changed the dress code to be more casual certain times of the year. But you know what happened? Motorola brass walked in and we had a big meeting in the conference room. And those same people that had gone on a Tuesday or a Wednesday to super casual, they didn't get in the meeting. So you really got to, like, part of the criteria is look at the calendar. I would dress above the code because I don't want to be, I like how you said, don't go to the lowest common denominator. But at a minimum, look at that calendar, check your criteria.
That's right. So, you know, it's very easy. And layers are very important, if I can interject.
Please.
You can wear a sweater, a shirt, and a jacket. As you have that criteria, and as you have to meet different types of people, you can take the jacket off, just have the sweater on. You can take the sweater off, just have a shirt on.
Ooh, that's what I should have done yesterday, to be honest with you. That's a really good tip for me. And I forgot for a minute, we're talking to like thousands of people. And I thought I was talking to you because I should have done that yesterday. I should have layered. That's good going into the winter too. I really appreciate that. You talked about the first person you see is the most important, but depending on where you are in your career, it's worth noticing. A lot of people are business owners. So from your receptionist to the parking person, you never get another chance to make a first impression. So I was impressed by that. Finding common ground with your client. Some of this is about dress and some is not. You really did a great job, kind of a master's class on how to connect with your client, how to use probative questions to get more information so you can enter as a consultant and an advisor. And a lot of people I work with are in your same role. So you can think about yourself as a clothier, which you are, but you're also an advisor. You can be a lawyer and advisor, a lobbyist and advisor, a technology person, but you're an advisor. Look like an advisor and ask questions that tease out how to advise your client. You do a really good job of that, I think.
Thank you.
And then be a student of your profession. That's one of the last things you said, and to me is very powerful. You've been in this a minute, to put it mildly, and to see the up on your elbows, big smile on your face, the way you're firing on, trying to continue to figure out sociology, put time and energy into your client. It's both inspiring because you're a little bit further along in your career than me, but I cannot say enough ways to people listening to this: be a lifelong student of your profession. Do not set it and forget it.
Yeah, it's very important, Nick.
Lastly, before we sign off, tell us what you're excited about, Tom, in this next chapter of your life and your business.
In my business, I'm just excited about the transition of dress and how there's more facets to menswear now. It's almost getting to be like women's wear, where in women's wear you have many silhouettes. From menswear now you have many silhouettes to dressing. So that's exciting. My consultation and my profession becomes even more important. There aren't many shops or professionals like the people I have working for me and myself. So we become even more valuable. I'm very excited about that. You can't get this on Amazon. Let me just say that. And most important thing that I'm excited about in my social life is my new little granddaughter. My son is, and his wife has blessed my wife and I with a beautiful little grandbaby.
That's so cool.
We're over the moon.
And we should all be so lucky to be you someday. Tom Gangitano, you did a great job in this interview. Special thanks to our producers, Riley Byrne and Megan Tuck, our awesome researcher, Alex Warner, and our entire crew at Podigy Podcast. Thank you for joining us, and see you next month on Together at the Top.
I'm honored, Nick. Thanks.
Thank you so much for your time. Together at the Top thrives off listeners like you. To stay connected, follow our socials in the show notes and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll be releasing our show on the last Tuesday of every month. See you next time. At Nick Warner Consulting, we exist to coach and consult motivated professionals. I meet with you on Zoom in focused 90-minute sessions, working toward your goals and developing next-level business skill sets. My job is to add value to your organization and your career. To learn more, visit www.nickwarnerconsulting.com or call me directly at 916-765-3576.